Welcome to the P.T.S.D podcast with your host, comedian and military veteran, Bernard the Laugh Therapist Hines, where we discuss P.T.S.D, processing traumatic situations differently, and give you tools to help you overcome the stigma of seeking help. If you're ready to be inspired, then welcome to the stigma-free zone. Here's your host, the Laugh Therapist himself, Bernard Hines.
What up, everybody? What up, everybody? This is your boy, Bernard Hines, a.k.a. the Laugh Therapist, and welcome to the P.T.S.D, Processing Traumatic Situations Differently podcast. Here, we try to inform, enlighten, and become advocates for one another as we process more productive ways to, I messed that up, y'all. You can mess it up because you can do it live, and then you can say, hey, it's your boy, Bernard Hines, a.k.a. the Laugh Therapist. Welcome to the P.T.S.D podcast. Listen, y'all, thank y'all for being here with me. Y'all know y'all dealing with a disabled veteran. My mind goes in and out, and I thank y'all for being here. But listen, y'all, we got a great show here tonight. I have a young lady, Miss Monique Latise. I had to get that right. Listen, according to Miss Monique, I'm going to read this. Life hasn't been easy. Raised by a single mother, not gifted academically, becoming a single mother, and watching her son get incarcerated. She has dealt with her share of struggle, but she's still here. She is still here. And please, at this time, welcome to the stage, comedian, motivational speaker, Monique Latise. How are you doing, Miss Lady?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I am doing well.
Good. It is awesome to have you wherever you are listening to this podcast, whether it be morning, evening, noon, night. We thank you for being here with us. I have met this young lady at Funny by the Pound Comedy Club in Delaware in December. Yeah. And according to her, and I know too, we have been knowing each other for years, but at the first time we seen each other, it's been like 10 years we've been knowing each other, but first time we crossed paths.
Yes. Your name was very familiar to me. Yep.
Wow. That's good. I hope my name become familiar to a lot of other people that got some checks out there and, we pay me something like that.
Hello.
So, ma'am, tell me a little bit about yourself. We're going to get into the questions, but just a little bit about you and how you got into comedy.
Okay, so I am a mother, grandmother. He said, Yep, I'm a grandmother, and I love that. Right now in this new season, that's my part of being me is the fact that I'm a grandmother.
Okay.
But I got into comedy 13 years ago, and to be honest, I was like at the height of struggle emotionally.
Okay.
Suffering from a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of things. There was a lot of moving parts around me.
Okay.
I had a lot of different potholes that were filled with depression and anxiety. So it wasn't one pothole. It was a couple of different potholes in my life. And I felt like I couldn't get a hold of any because it was a pothole here and a pothole here.
Correct.
So I felt like out of control emotionally and spiritually. And I had been on my job at that point, maybe about 15 years.
Okay.
And that was like the only really consistent thing really in my life, the fact that I was able to hold this job down.
Okay.
But it was things going on at the job that was even a pothole because I came into the job. I had no college education. I struggled in school. Okay. So when I got the job at 21, I was the only one in the office with no degree. I worked at a financial institution. So everyone else around me had degrees in finance, degrees in accounting, and went to this college and this college. And I was just a single mom from Paterson, New Jersey that needed to feed her children. So I was there's times that I felt really lost in the sauce. And I had to really tap into God and ask him to show me what my missing link was on the job.
Wow. That's good.
I found out that the missing link on the job was the college educated people and the people that have, that had degrees and they had all of these titles. They weren't tapping into the people.
Okay. Okay.
And I asked God, because I was depressed, but I asked God, I said, Lord, I don't feel well, but help me be kind to people. Help me be able to make people feel like they were special. And when they walked into the bank, even though I couldn't offer them any financial advice,
Okay.
I want to be able to give them a hello that will last a lifetime.
Got it.
And he did that. So I was able to maintain the job, but it was still something still missing.
Right.
And, my son started acting up in school really heavy. And, my ex-husband and I had separated. And, when I made a big mistake.
Okay. Uh-oh.
And the mistake is that I wouldn't let this man chastise my son. Every time he would do, discipline my son. Don't be hitting my son. That's my son. Not realizing that I was doing damage.
Now, question: was he the father? He was the biological.
He was the biological father, named after him and all. But as women, I think that we naturally get protective over our sons, and that's why if you listen to my material, I talk a lot about that experience.
Yeah, that's life.
It wasn't a good look, but that wasn't good. That wasn't. And women do not do that. Let that man check that son, because one day you're gonna be begging for somebody to help you, and that's what happened. So somebody came to me one day at a barbershop I was going to, and they was like, whenever we're talking about life, you're able to jump in and give your perspective. Why don't you be on this comedy show that I'm doing?
Okay.
And I'm like, comedy show? Why? I haven't laughed in years. So why would I be on anybody's comedy show? I don't really know any comedians. I watch Def Jam.
Yeah, everybody did, yeah.
But it's not like comedy was like Now, let me back up a little bit. Before I had my kids, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a dancer.
Oh. I mean, now what? Okay, hip hop. Because when you say dancer, now you got
hip hop. Because I grew up in hip hop. So when I was 14, hip hop was like the biggest thing. And I wanted to rap. I wanted to battle people when dancing. So I've always been competitive as far as like crowds are concerned. If there was a crowd, I want to get a piece of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was, and you know what's funny? When people come to me and they say, well, I'm funny, I want to try comedy, I kind of get weird because that's not my story. My relationship to comedy, if any, is the fact that I always loved people in a crowd. Got me crazy.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do with it though. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it, how that refers to comedy. All I know is I love, whenever I saw a crowd and the music and people were going crazy, I wanted to jump in the pot.
Wow.
That was it. No, I didn't know anything else about comedy. So the guy called me and he was like, listen, because I always wore my hair short. So whenever I would go to the barbershop, the guys would, kind of question me about relationships and marriage and kids. And I always gave it back to him, always knew how to carry my conversation.
Okay.
So the guy was like, you need to try comedy. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna talk to my pastor. And my pastor gonna be like, nah, that's of the devil.
Yeah, back then, I want nobody looking at, no comedy, right, Christian comedy in church, no.
Right, and that's gonna take care of this conversation.
Right.
So he was like, all right. So I went and I made an appointment with my pastor, and I, told him what was going on. And he was like, girl, you better do that comedy. That's exactly what you better do. And I was like, but I'm gonna be cursing and carrying on and doing this because I didn't know what else. I didn't know. All I knew was what I saw on,
Correct.
And he was like, no, God is gonna guide you where you need to go.
Wow.
So by the time I called the guy back to tell him that I would do the comedy, he had already put me on the flyer.
Ooh.
Posted the flyer.
Okay.
And when he posted the flyer, the people just went crazy. Oh my God, I knew it. I'm not surprised. And I was so I'm gonna be honest with you. If I can keep it real with you.
No, keep it real.
I was so confused.
Okay, of course. I started when I was confused when I started. Yeah.
I was confused at how people received it.
Okay.
Cause I'm like, what you mean you always knew? You're not surprised? I should have been doing comedy because I didn't see it.
And it's amazing. People can see in us what we can't see in ourselves sometimes.
Listen, I was like, y'all bugging, because I don't even know what I'm going to say when I get on stage. And then I went to tell someone very close to me. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to put the person on. Someone very close to me. And I said, hey, I think I'm going to try comedy.
It wasn't Cat Williams, was it?
No.
No. He gonna tell on you.
No. It was somebody very close to me in my pocket. It's just a person
got it.
Close. And I said, I think I'm gonna try comedy, because once that person at the barbershop put it in my brain and I talked to my pastor, I couldn't sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I would see myself on stage.
Okay.
And in front of thousands.
You have to see it first. Yes.
And I would wake up in the middle of the night in tears because the dreams was so real. Like, you are going to go on tour. You're going to be a nationally known comedian. And I'm like, I couldn't even tell you how, because I didn't know anyone.
Right.
That was the thing that was stuck in my head. So I went and I talked to the person, and they said, well, I don't know how you're going to be a comedian because there's nothing funny about you.
And
I understood where they were coming from because of the relationship.
Okay.
And what they saw and what I felt.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know how either. And 2 minutes later, something clicked inside of me.
Okay.
And I started shooting out jokes to that person. And by the end of our conversation, this is before I started on stage.
Correct.
By the end of the conversation, that person was on the floor crying, holding their stomach.
Wow.
And I don't even know how that happened, but they, at the end of the conversation, they said to me, listen, I apologize. If you do what you just did to me and you do that on stage, you're gonna be the next Steve Harvey. That's, everybody says.
Yeah, my mama always say that right now. I'm like, nope, I just want to be me.
Yeah,
I just want to be me. I want his money, but I just want to be me.
Right. My mama always like, you want to be Harvey.
Yeah. So you said that you are a comedian for women.
Yes.
You said you're a comedian for women. Okay. Yes. Explain that to me.
Because there's something about a woman in her kitchen.
Okay.
Can't nobody do the kitchen like us. And I don't mean cooking. There's a lot of good male.
Good chef, right. Correct.
What I'm talking about is just it's something about a woman that knows how to handle the pots.
Okay.
Knows how to handle her kitchen. She knows where the utensils are. She knows where the cups are. Like, she knows, and she cleans as she cooks, and she just handles it.
Okay.
Care of it. And that's to me, I always felt like the kitchen is the main core of the house. Come on, Jesus. Come on.
Yeah, because if you go to somebody's house and the kitchen
is the house.
Is nasty, you like,
right. You can always dust up the living room.
Correct.
Right. But the kitchen is where you really see what the deal is for the whole body of the house.
Okay. Got it.
So I know that there's a lot of things that go on in women. There's a lot of things going on with men too, but I'm a woman. So
we talking about you right there. Yeah. We talking about you now. Yeah.
We suffer from a lot of depression, divorce, situational anxiety.
Okay.
Situational depression, meaning that. Yeah, when we don't get depressed until things come up, and then we handle it. We don't know how to handle it.
Correct.
So we're good. We're good. But as soon as something rock our boats, we freak out. Right. So that was me for years. And, as I'm getting into comedy, I'm asking the Lord to show me why he created me. Because it couldn't have been, I didn't feel like it, I never felt it was just comedy. I always felt like comedy was going to be the platform.
Okay. Got it.
Because like I said, I didn't come in as class clown. I didn't, when you around me, I'm not the one cracking jokes. Sometimes I don't even get jokes.
Correct. It's one thing me and you said when we was at the comedy thing. You said most comedians don't laugh at other comedians.
They don't.
Yeah. It's just okay. Right.
So I had to learn, that laughter is attached to joy, right?
Mm.
And joy is a gift that you have
Yes,
to
it
ask for. It's not something
Okay.
that comes naturally to everyone. Everyone is not born and grows into a joyous person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you have to ask God to show me how to tap into joy, because
Okay.
joy is the thing that sustains you when it's raining. It sustains you when there's so many potholes that you can't even walk because you got, I'm gonna fall here and I'm gonna fall here.
Mm-hmm.
Joy is the thing that even when you're going through a massive divorce and you're going through, your kids are on drugs and I had to learn that in order for me to be a service to people, because I feel like as a comedian, I'm a service provider, I had to find joy that I didn't even understand.
Okay.
And that meant to really, I'm kind of weird, when it comes to certain things. I believe in sometimes you got to just sit still and feel the pain and say, God, what am I going to do with this pain? What do you want me to do with this pain? I know you're not giving me this pain just for me to be hurting.
Wow.
There's a reason for it, and I just let me feel it, because I want to. And the reason why I need to feel it is that when I get on stage and talk about some things that felt ugly, I had already allowed myself to feel it.
Correct. Okay.
So now it's time to turn it into what it's supposed to be.
Wow.
But you got to sit, though. You got to sit and say, I never been the one to run, and I'm gonna bring it back a little bit. We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna bring it back.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
I didn't do good in school, and my mother really didn't tap into how bad I was doing until report card night.
Okay.
Report card night. That's when all hell was breaking loose.
That's most. My mom ain't make no school appointments.
She didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But I knew that I was going to get away with it until that night. So I believe that's where my ability to tap into the pain comes in.
Okay.
I couldn't run from it because it's going to come. Report card night going to come.
Okay.
So I grew a resilience to Monique. Ain't no sense of hanging yourself all semester. But just know you got a butt whooping coming. And I felt it. I felt my mother's pain. I felt my pain. So to translate that into adulthood, as I got into comedy, in order for me to be able to articulate the joke and to be able to get on stage and expect people to come on my journey, I had to have already felt the pain and allow it to do what it came to do.
Okay. I like you said, sit with it.
Oh, you got to sit with it. Because if you run through pain, then how authentic are you being if you've never felt it?
Correct. That's true.
If I'm going through a divorce and I'm talking to other women about divorce, how can I help them heal when I didn't allow myself to say, girl, you a whole divorced woman and it was painful, the whole relationship, and I have to call these things out so I can let it flow from me, so that when I talk to women and I look her in the eye and say, sis, I understand. I've been there. I understand. You're going to get through this. Feel the pain, though. I didn't want people to come and tell me, you're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. I needed to feel it.
Correct. You're right. It's a pain, too. Listen, y'all, we are talking to Miss Monique Latise. She is dropping us some nuggets about her life. Yeah. She is going to be dropping some more nuggets, so you might as well put your seatbelt on and sit back, because there was a time in your life when you felt devastated and embarrassed about your son's arrest.
Yeah. So
how did you process that one?
3 years into comedy, my son gets arrested. He was 18, and I can't even put it in words how I was feeling as a mother. Even just going with him to criminal court and just the whole, it coming out on the paper and even not knowing all the details, not even wanting to know all the details.
Correct.
I was nervous, is it going to affect me? When people saw me, I felt like people knew, because I'm from Patterson and I had started doing comedy already.
Correct.
And
okay.
Facebook is the new it became the new eyewitness news. So I didn't know who knew, and it was just and I was getting booked a lot, and I was just like, why is this happening to me? I was not a happy camper. I really wasn't.
Sure, you was angry.
I was angry. I was sad. I was everything that you can think about. But like I said, the comedies just came into my life like a lightning bolt, and it just stuck to me. And the shows were coming, and they were coming so fast that I couldn't even see. Here's the thing too about gifts.
Okay.
When God is giving you a gift, right? He don't say get rid of the other nonsense in your life so you can get into this gift.
Oh my God! Please say that again.
When God brings, when your gift is manifest, your gift is brought to light. It's not like you have an opportunity to get rid of all the mess.
Correct.
The gift is here, and it doesn't stop.
Don't stop.
Even when it's raining, it doesn't stop. Right. So now, how do you handle something that you clearly know? And so then you say to yourself, well, how do you know it's a gift? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. The day my son got sentenced to 7 years in prison.
Yes. Come on.
I had a women's conference that I was doing at a church.
Okay.
300 women were at the conference. My son was sentenced at 9 p.m. that morning. He had been on a run for a year. I walked him into court at 19, and they kept him and sentenced him to 7 years. I can't even begin to describe what my state was at that time.
Okay.
I can't even put it in words. But what I do know and what I can tell you is that day I had a show at 3:00, and I cried from the time I laid I let him released him to the time I got to the church. And when I walked into the church, my eyes were bloodshot. My eyes were bulging out my head. The women were because I had begun to, people started hearing about Monique Latise now.
Correct.
I'm building, because the shows were not stopping because of what was going on.
Ooh,
hello. So I'm walking into this church, and the women were going crazy. There she is. There's the comedian waving and, wanting to hug and kiss. And when I tell you, I was like, God, are you kidding me? You're not even giving me any space to heal and to what's going this it was too much for me.
Okay.
But they didn't care. They were like, there you go. Hey, funny girl.
Look, it's like, I don't care what you're going through. You need to come make us laugh.
Man. And I was getting angry about a minute. Every time somebody called me funny girl, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I will cringe.
Wow.
So I went in the bathroom and I said, Lord, you got to help me with this one. Those women are waiting for me.
Correct.
And you got to give me the strength because I'm tapped out. Tapped out.
Okay.
And the Lord said, girl, you getting paid for this. You better go get that money.
Whoa. Patterson, New Jersey God, huh?
The Lord said, honey, you get paid for this, booty boop. You better go get that money.
Correct.
Well, that's what I heard. I don't know if he said.
That's what I said. That's your Patterson, New Jersey God. How you talk to you? That's right.
Yeah, he was like, you
that's
better
right.
Go get that bread.
That's right.
So I went in, dried up my tears. I did my comedy set. The women loved it. They clapped. At the end of the set, I said to the women, I said, ladies, you got me through one of the toughest days of my life.
Sometimes we need that comedy. Yep.
My son was sentenced to 7 years in prison on today. And because of you, I got through it.
Wow.
That changed the game.
Okay.
That changed that day, changed November 17th, 2015. That day changed that's when the game changed.
And changed how?
The women stood on their feet.
Okay.
They were clapping and cheering. 300 women. We love you. My son is in prison too. My husband is in prison too. My father's in prison too. And it blew my mind because I thought I was the only one.
Yes.
experiencing loved ones that was incarcerated.
And you feel like that. You feel like you are the only one that's going through anything.
Yes. And the journey was just beginning. The journey was just beginning. And let me tell you something. When those women stood on their feet and they clapped for me, at that moment, I knew that this comedy was bigger than what I signed up for.
Come on.
I knew right then and there I was a woman's comedian. I found that day I discovered 3 things about me.
Okay.
The first one, that I was a woman's comedian. The way those women stood on their feet and said, "Me too, thank you," in tears. We bonded together in tears. And I said, and they were inboxing me and flooding my inbox after that. And I said, yeah, I gotta. Sometimes you can't reinvent the wheel. It's what it is. It's what it is.
Everybody see me as the mental health comedian. I mean, it is what it is.
So that's the first thing I learned, that I was a woman's comedian that day. Second thing I realized that day is that it was a gift that I had.
Okay.
Because a gift is something that you have no control over.
That's right.
I don't even know how that standing ovation happened, as hurt as I was.
Okay.
But that's how I knew that day that the comedy thing was a gift that God had given me. And then the third thing that I realized is that comedy was going to be the thing that sustained me. And once I realized that it was going to be the thing that sustains me, I began to ask God to give me joy so I can enjoy it.
Now that is because there's a lot of people that's doing their gift that they're not happy doing it.
Yeah.
They get up, they go to work every morning.
They're on a praise team. They're preaching. There's a lot of people in church that are depressed. I asked God, I said, if
that is good.
I said, if this is my calling, Lord, the way those women stood on their feet, Ray Charles could see that.
Right.
I said, show me how to find joy in what I'm doing so that I can bring joy to the women.
That is good.
I want to feel good. Because let me tell you something, if mama don't feel good, ain't nobody feeling good.
Correct.
If I get on stage, and in my first 3 years on stage, I don't even know how people were booking me, because I didn't have any joy. That's how I knew it was God. He covered me. And I began to really thank God. And even now in this season, I thank God for covering me when I was not covering myself.
Okay.
When I was acting ugly, and when I first got on stage, I'll be like, I was angry Maxine.
As they say, mean mugging folks. Yeah.
Like, y'all came for me to make you laugh, but I got potholes that almost didn't allow me to get here.
You know what? It's something, when you keep saying potholes, that analogy really keeps hitting with me, because if you on the road to success and there's potholes everywhere, every now and then you got to take your eyes off that to make sure you ain't hitting the potholes.
Yeah, and then guess what? Along the journey, you may take off a rim.
There you go, hit them potholes. There you go. There you go. Wow.
Pothole. And then it's different. That the reason I love the pothole analogy, which I just made up.
It's yours. It's yours. I was gonna ask you, was it yours? Because this is the stealing season.
And everybody has different, you can't look on somebody else's role, because if I look on your role, your potholes may look different than mine. You may have one big pothole and it's so deep. And I may have little bitty potholes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Some people have a whole lot of potholes, and if they go on either way, they're gonna dip. So, it's different ways that you can, visualize the potholes. But the point is that there were so many pockets in my life that were dysfunctional that I really had to say, all right, Lord, I need you to fly this ship, because I don't know.
Right.
So that day I realized that I'm a woman's comedian, that I had a calling, and that calling will sustain me.
Wow. Hey, you doing it. I mean, I didn't know you personally, but I did follow your journey with your son when you was going through that. And there's, nothing I could do but just, give you the hearts and stuff like that. So, and then, you stepped out on faith and you opened up your own comedy club, didn't you?
I opened up my own comedy club in 2020. My son was coming home from prison. I wanted to give him a job. I felt like when I got into comedy, I felt like I needed a plug.
Okay.
Right? Because I didn't like, I thought that was the only way that you're successful in comedy is by someone seeing you and making it happen for you. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And I had none of that. I would get booked. You know, I did birthday parties and baby showers and this and that and this, but I wasn't quite getting the connections and having the conversations that I needed.
Okay.
What I thought I needed. So I said, you know what? I need to make noise.
Okay.
How do you make noise as a woman in comedy? That's clear. Like I'm getting booked.
Right. You bookable.
I'm doing about 5 shows a week, baby showers, birthday parties, weddings. But how do you make noise to the masses?
Okay.
So God woke me up out my sleep one day and said, go open up a comedy club. And I said, well, what money, God?
Right.
And God said, all the money that you made doing those private gigs, you saved that money. Because I did. When my son went to prison, I started saving money because I wanted, you know, I had never lived by myself. So I started saving money and, you know, just kind of rearranging my life a little bit. So that's why it's been a blessing. But what was I saying?
The comedy club. You saved your money. God told you to do it.
He told me to do it. So I went to go look at different places and I'm like, all right, I'm a single woman. You know, I have to protect myself. I am in the inner city. So I started looking. So I found a spot at a mall and it was, it was an old dining hall in the mall. And I converted it into a comedy club. And when I tell you it was beautiful, the first grand opening day was February 1st, 2020.
Okay.
Black History Month. I had the mayor, the governor's assistant. They gave me awards. It was 600 people at the grand opening.
Wow. People
were chatting. Monique Latise. It was a moment in my life that I would never forget.
I believe it. I truly believe that.
And I was excited because I knew my son was coming home in a couple of days, and you know, I opened up a comedy club in my city of Paterson, New Jersey. At this point, I have been doing comedy for about 10 years. So, you know, I kind of knew my way around the game. People started, other comedians knew, you know, who I was. So I said, this is going to be good. This is going to be real good. 6 weeks later, the pandemic comes.
Boom.
Put everything on hold. And
6 weeks later, after opening up your comedy club.
To the day, March 17th, 2020. And everything stopped. You know, the world stopped.
Trauma is real.
Huh?
Yeah. I said trauma is real.
Yeah, people were dying. And my position at my job was a business development rep. I have been at my job 25 years at this point. My plan was to be successful at the comedy club and leave my job. That was the plan. But my position at my job also was put on hold. Now, keep in mind, I had been at my job 25 years. I was the head supervisor. I was the head underwriter. I had worked my way up to all of these high positions. And my last position was a business development rep, meaning that I would go outside to different companies and get people to join the credit union. I was the face of the credit union.
Okay.
I was a comedian and the face of the credit union.
Okay.
My position became jeopardized once the pandemic came. So I couldn't even go back to an old position because they were all filled.
Wow.
So I was sitting in my office for 2 years, not even knowing when today's going to be my last day at work. If today's going to be, so I had a failed business. I had a position at my job that every day I come in, they could have easily canceled me out.
Correct.
And then I had a son coming home from 7 years in prison. So it was a lot. The potholes were real.
Yeah. Yeah. And hold up. And there was really no stand-up comedy to go and do stand-up. We did it all virtually then. So it did.
Yeah, and I remember the first time somebody booked me for a virtual show, I cried because I'm like,
people don't know. It's different. You do a comedy, ain't nobody laughing. You don't folks in the back eating it.
but honey, when they told me how much I was gonna get, I was like, let me tell you something. I had wigs, I had pots, I had all kinds of stuff.
You make it do what it do.
Listen, I put on a whole production. A whole production. You hear me?
It make it do what it do.
Wigs. Hold on a minute. I didn't know I was that creative. Let me tell you something. I didn't find out how creative I was until the pandemic.
That's true. That's true. There's a lot of people that became so-called famous through the pandemic.
Let me tell you something. I was in here TikToking it. And
that is true.
I never did so many videos in my entire life.
Right.
And it's all due to the pandemic. So, the comedy club was able to stay open because we were in a mall. So it was a public place.
Okay.
And I was able to stay open a year. I stayed open for a year. So I was able to book comedians. Barbara Carlisle was there, talent people, GL Douglas. And I paid people out of my pocket because I had no PPP money. I had, so I paid people out of my pockets, and I came up with creative ways to raise money. I started doing little characters that talked about children being pulled out of school, how the pandemic affected kids and families.
Wow.
Came up with a character called Day Day. Day Day kind of took a life of its own. It was an animated character that I made on Snapchat.
Okay.
Everybody loved Day Day, and I started making book bags, masks. People were hiring Day Day to do videos, birthday shout outs, all during the pandemic. So I was making about $500 a week doing videos. Okay.
Real entrepreneur. Working.
Yes. So that helped me stay open for a year. At the end, but some people were dying, and people that were helping me work, they were getting sick. So so 1 year later to the day, I caught COVID. Okay. And I didn't catch COVID enough to kill me. Obviously.
Correct.
I caught COVID enough to sit me down and for me to have a conversation with God.
Okay.
And God told me flat out, because I was a little upset again. I'm like, well, why would you have to open up a comedy club? And the pandemic comes out, and my job is jeopardized. My son is back out doing what he was doing. But when he first went to jail and he went back in jail, it was, by this time, my son went back to prison.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So I was like, it's too much, Lord. It's too much.
Right.
So God said, hold on, hold your horses. Sit and feel everything that's going on. Sit and feel the energy.
You know what? What? When you say that, when I used to go to my therapist and she would tell me sit, and we would talk about something, she would pause, she said, and just sit in it. Yeah. That is, yes.
And it hurts.
This
is not good. That doesn't feel good.
No, but
you gotta sit in it and let it process itself out.
Yes. That's good. That's good.
You gotta, stress and anxiety and depression is like a bump. Right? You get a bump on your face, right? And it gotta come to a head.
Got to.
It ain't going nowhere. You ain't nothing you could bust it and do it more damage. You could bust a bump and mess your whole face up.
Woo!
Or you could sit and let it come to a head and go away. So which one you want to do? You want to bust it and leave a mark? Or do you want to let so now when I'm one of the only adults that still get acne. So I'm I got a bump. I'm gonna let the bump do what the bump do.
You helping me. I don't know who else you helping. Why? Sometimes just let it come to a head instead of forcing it.
Popping over, leave marks. So you got to just let it do what it do. Look, we all have issues. We all have things going on. So that's a biggie for me. Realizing that it's not just me.
Okay.
I'm not the only one that been divorced. I'm not the only one with a son that went to prison. I'm not the only one that go through things on her job with her family and this and that. I'm not the only one that was raised without a father. I'm not the only one that was raised by a teenager. I'm not the only one. Why do I think I'm the only one? Why do I think that God said you're the only one give all this stress to? Why do I think I'm that special that God will give me all of this for nothing.
Wow. Because you turned it into something.
Because I have to. I have to say, Lord, okay, I came into this world with weight on my shoulders. My mother was 15 when she got pregnant with me.
Okay.
And a lot of times when you're raised by a teenage mother, she's not even done developing.
Correct.
So I came into the world, I kind of feel behind the 8 ball.
Mm-hmm.
But God, being the type of God he is, gave me a grandmother that said, nah, you good. You good.
Okay.
So sometimes when you see things that's also, so when my son went to prison, it looked bad. And I don't even like, I remember I wouldn't even like telling people that he went in, because people, like if somebody say, well, how many kids you have? Tell me about your kids. And I say, well, my son's in prison. Damn, what he do? Oh my God. And to be honest with you, God began to show me that when you tell people about your children, you come from a perspective that God is good.
Okay.
So you don't let people dictate to you that God didn't cover you through the situation.
Right.
You set the tone.
That's
because it could have been worse. He could have been out here gang banging and this and that. Wow. Do you really believe I would have been able to put my foot on the gas with comedy with him out in these streets like that?
Correct.
I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Correct. Because they probably been looking for you too, right?
I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right. Wow.
A lot of his friends didn't make it. God did cover him.
Wow.
God sent him back to prison because he was not ready.
Okay.
Who am I to say that he's ready? When he went back in the second time, I was devastated. I didn't speak to him for a year because I was so mad at him.
Right.
I was so mad at him.
Your son, correct?
So mad at him.
Right.
Because we prepared for you. I opened up a business for you.
Mm-hmm.
We waited for you. We did the time with you. And at this point, I said, Lord, you handle him because I'm done. I'm done. And guess what the Lord said?
What's that?
I was wondering when you was going to give him to me.
Ooh, God. Oh, boy. People missing some nuggets on that one.
The Lord said, "This your part of the testimony is now being separated. This is his testimony now. So so I had to like hit rock bottom with that because God needed to now, because if I'm orchestrating everything, how was God doing his part?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was done with my son. I moved out of the apartment that I was living in because I said, you ain't gonna kill me.
Right.
I moved out of my apartment, got a little 1-bedroom apartment, and I said, God, this is on you. I'm done. And I got a lot of negative feedback from.
Of course. Of course.
I moved into my 1-bedroom apartment, but I said, you know what, Lord? He's 25 now. I gotta give it to you. And the Lord said, about time, my sister.
Wow.
So my son ended up going, the second time around, before he went in, he made me a grandmother. And he had a baby. People that looked bad. That looked bad. You come home from prison, have a baby, go back to prison. But let me tell you something. My grandson is the gift that we needed. Wow. I never felt so much joy. Mm-hmm. And so let me tell you something. I needed my grandson.
Correct.
I needed my grandson for different things. Okay. I got a chance to apologize to my son through my grandson. Because when I was young, raising my kids, I was taking everything personal. I had my own trauma. I was mad at my own parents. Anything he did, he needed help. And I was taking everything personal. I thought it was a personal attack against me. So I didn't get a chance to give him. If you're listening and you have a child that needs help, whether they're autistic, whether they have ADHD, whether they have behavior problems, Ask God to give you the strength not to take it personal and get that child the help that they need.
Yes.
You do more damage later by taking it personal and not getting that child help. So when I see my grandson, it just gives me a chance to love on my son. And because me and my son had it rough because he always, was always in trouble, always did this. So when my son started seeing how, even though him and I had our differences, I had his back with his son.
Okay.
I think that softened him.
Okay.
I think because that's where I started beginning to see changes in him.
Okay.
So I say that to say sometimes we got to just play our part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the baby's father. I'm not the baby's mother. But if you do your part, everything else around you will fall in line. Just do your part.
That is a great way to end this podcast. Miss Monique Latise, you have said some things, and I'm going to listen to this podcast over and over because it is some things that you have said that people, please go back and listen to this podcast. Please go back and listen to the live. She says some great things. And how can people find you and on your social media?
You can find me on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, under Monique Latise. It's Monique Latise on all platforms.
That's Latise, Latise.
S-E, yep.
Now, I would like for you to leave some parting words for anybody who's listening. If you want to leave it for your women folk, just a nice little parting word, some words that if someone is thinking about giving up, someone is thinking about why me, you can kind of release them today.
Find your joy. Your joy is personal, and it's something that will sustain you when it's all hell is breaking loose. The joy is what gets you up in the morning and have you looking forward to something. If you don't have joy, you have nothing. And joy is something that you can ask for. It's something that covers you. So it's free. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to take it from anybody else. You don't steal it. It's something that God gives you, and he'll give it to you freely. Your only responsibility is to ask for it. So open up your hands and ask God to pour it into you so that you can handle the potholes.
Wow. Miss Monique Latise, thank you for being on my podcast. And as of right now, you are released from the stigma-free zone.
Amen.
Go be great.
Go be great.
Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be back again. Enjoy. God bless.